Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another installment of my Ask John Q&A session. This is focused on the Dream for All program, but it can really be about anything. So I'll be here for about an hour. I've got topics that I want to discuss. I also have topics that I have time to answer any questions that you guys have. I've actually already got some questions from one viewer who wanted me to answer some of those questions. So I will dive into answering questions and providing really updates on the information that I've got and kind of what I am seeing right now. So join me as we move on and kind of give you as much information as I possibly can about the Dream for All program and where to go from here. So first and foremost, let's get over here and pull up my correct info. All right. Nope, that's not the one. Hold on one second. Nope. I have a folder with everything that I wanted to talk about, and I'm not seeing it. Here we go. All right. So first of all, general questions. So I want to start out, and I'm going to end with any general questions that you have. Feel free to ask them, post them into chat wherever you're at. I already got a couple of questions from Clarissa. So let's Clarissa. So let's dive into Clarissa's questions. So Clarissa asked this a couple minutes before the actual live broadcast, which is great. That's how you get yourself on here early. And she has some really good questions that I am prepared to talk about, but I'm not going to give as good of an answer as I would like to. But I might have this on my next installment and dive a lot deeper into it. I'm a spreadsheet guy. I like running spreadsheets. You're going to see a couple of my spreadsheets tonight. And so Clarissa's question is Dream for All right for you even if you get the voucher? How do you compare the 30-year conventional with 5% down on $350 to see if the repayment is different, shared equity versus not, and the cost versus the benefit? Phenomenal question. Like really, really, really good question. Putting context to it, Clarissa brought up her second comment was we got the voucher on Monday. Congratulations. And we have an agent and a lender, but I'm hunting for info before hunting for the house. Great, good idea. We're also comparing lenders to see the cost difference in a schedule of fees for this type of a loan. So again, I'll cover a lot of that information. Alexis has a question, so I will happily dive in. Again, guys, keep adding your questions. I'll spend the entire hour answering your questions and never talk about what I want to talk about. That's okay. So what I want to start with, Clarissa, is as a general statement, you are far better off paying for your own down payment than using Dream for All. That's flat out across the board. It is very, very expensive in the long run to have the shared appreciation component of this program. The difference is in the short run, you have a cheaper monthly payments. And I've talked about this a fair amount on different videos, both with Dream for All and without, which is when you think about financial goals, you have to think about both long-term and short-term. So if you think in the long term, is it better for you to put all of your money into a 401k and spend zero money on anything that's fun and instead literally ride your bike to work and work for 10 hours a day or 12 hours a day and then ride your bike home and never do anything from an entertainment perspective? The answer is, of course, that in the long term is significantly better because you won't spend any money on anything that is unnecessary. But your life's going to be pretty darn boring. And you're going to save a lot of money in the long run. And a lot of people would say that's the best way to build long-term wealth is to sacrifice now. And that's very, very true. The more you sacrifice now, the more wealthier you will be down the road. But you got to look at the opposite, which says, what's reality? What's real life? How do I live my life today and not hate what I'm doing? Okay. You could buy a home that is cheaper by driving an hour and a half commute. And it would be a less expensive home, but you'd be trading off the time that you're spending with your family. You'd be trading off the gas that you have to spend. And so there's always a trade-off with everything. And so when it comes to using the Dream for All program, it comes down to, for sure, if you cannot afford to make the monthly payment on a loan without Dream for All, and your choice is own a home and get 80% of the appreciation, or don't own a home, and get 100% of nothing? Well, the answer is own a home and get 80% of the appreciation. But if you believe, like I do, that homes will continue to appreciate over time, and in California, they appreciate between 4 and 6% per year. So if you think the house is going to increase by 4 to 6% per year, the question is, let's just pretend that it's 6% per year for simple math. Okay. Actually, let's pretend it's 5% per year because that's even easier math and it's right down the middle. So if you had a $500,000 home and that home appreciates 5% per year, that goes up by $25,000. You get $25,000 of additional equity and value in your home in just 1 year. Now, if you did your own 5% down payment program, Clarissa, then you're making a higher monthly payment, but you're not having a $2,000 a month higher monthly payment. So you're getting all of that. Actually, let me back up. 2,000 is the wrong number. You're getting all of the $25,000 appreciation. Versus if you use the Dream for All program, that house is going to go up the same amount. The house appreciation grows the same amount whether you use Dream for All or you put your own down payment. Whether you paid cash for the house or you finance the entire purchase price, the house price is going to go up the same because that has to do with the market, not what type of loan you did. So that $500,000 home is going to go up by $25,000 in the next year, hypothetically, based on an average of 5% appreciation. If you use Dream for All, you don't get all of that. Okay. The state gets $5,000 of that $25,000. So you only get 20. So you are giving up $5,000 in appreciation per year in this example. Okay. The question is, what's the bump in monthly payment? So if the bump in monthly payment between Dream for All versus the 5% down conventional, if it's more than $416 a month, then you're going to spend more than $5,000 a year in extra monthly payments. But if it's less than $416 a month, then your bump in monthly payment might be $150, which means that you're spending an extra $1,800 a year in monthly payments, but in exchange, you're capturing $5,000 extra in appreciation. So in the long run, if you can afford the extra monthly payments, you're better off buying without Dream for All. As a matter of fact, you can buy with the CalHFA My Home program because that one charges you interest at 1% per year on the 3.5% or 3% down payment money it gives you. So you can get some pretty good money, 3% of the purchase price on a conventional loan for 1% per year cost. That means you're buying a $500,000 home. You get $15,000 from the state instead of $100,000, so you're making a payment on $485,000. But the interest you pay back later is only $150 a year. Instead of giving the state $5,000 a year of your appreciation, you're only spending $150 a year in interest by using the My Home program. So does it pencil out? It depends on what your budget looks like. It depends on what's that going to mean to your lifestyle if you have to spend that extra money per month to cover that higher monthly payment, or if you have to buy a cheaper home because, hey, I can afford only this monthly payment. And so to put my own 5% down on a conventional loan instead of Dream for All, I got to buy a cheaper home. And what's the trade-off there? So there's the mathematical number that says don't use Dream for All. Like if you can buy with your own money, or you can afford your own down payment money, or you can afford the higher monthly payment that comes with borrowing more money, you're likely in the long run to save a significant amount of money. Now, if the home prices never go up, then you're better off with Dream for All because you owe nothing in interest to Dream for All and you pay nothing in appreciation. So the question is, how much do we think prices are going to go up between now and when you sell the home? And that's impossible to determine. But I believe in general, we're going to see house prices going up. And I think that you have to decide, hey, what's it worth to me today versus what's it worth to me in the long run? Clarissa said something else. Let's see what she says. I like your math. We're going out for the last couple of days. Thank you. Love your videos. You're welcome. I appreciate it. All right. So Clarissa, the second part of your question. First of all, again, congratulations on getting your voucher. Yes, the only difference between lenders is what they're going to charge. That's the truth is that's the same as what we're heading into with real estate agents. Like you're gonna now especially on the Dream for All program, like you're going to have some lenders who are going to say, hey, I'm going to charge cheaper than whatever anybody else is going to charge. But are they going to guide you through the process very well? Are they going to help you in determining your negotiation? Are they going to get on the phone with the listing agent and talk through the transaction and give the listing agent the confidence that they need to accept your offer? I literally had 5 of those phone calls today with listing agents explaining this program to them and helping them understand it so that they can explain it to their seller, because that can make the difference between them getting their offer accepted or not getting it accepted. And that's the same thing in picking a real estate agent that says, hey, I'm going to charge you this much in buyer's agent commission that we're going to try and charge the seller. But the truth is, if you charge the seller less money for your realtor's commission, the seller might be willing to accept a lower price. So you're paying for your realtor's commission just like you're paying for the lender, but you get what you pay for. And that realtor may have a much better negotiation skills. That realtor may have the ability to put you in a much better position to get an offer accepted within the 90-day time frame that you have to utilize this voucher, if you so choose to use the voucher. All right, I'm skipping around a little bit, but I like some of these questions. So Jeremy says, where do I find $500,000 houses? Yeah, I'm with you, my friend. It's simple math, okay? I'm a simple man. I like to use simple math, and so it's numbers that I can do in my head. So what, a sketchy house in I'm sorry, not a sketchy house, a house in a sketchy neighborhood for $750. Yeah, it's not so great out there. It's definitely challenging, which is a big part of what I want to talk about tonight. Before I go there, Alexis, welcome, Alexis. Started at 55 in the capital region. Now you're 41. That's fantastic. I think that your chances are very good by the end of September. So I think that we're seeing good amount of movements. I had a buyer that was I think she was number 15 in the Bay Area, and she just got her voucher yesterday. So we're seeing numbers move down pretty significantly in every market. I think your chances are the best at the end of September, when we have kind of the cleansing of all the people that didn't make it and tried but weren't able to get their voucher utilized in the first 90 days. That's where I think you're going to see a much, much bigger jump. And I think you being, less than 50 in the capital region puts you in a pretty good spot. Clarissa, yeah, you were 8 2 weeks ago, 6 a week later, and 2 on Friday. So it's moving down very, very quickly. And it is, it's exciting. It's like, I don't know what it's like, but it's like something that's exciting. Staring at the slot machines as the wheels are going around, I'm not sure. I'm good with analogies, but that one I probably blew it. All right, let's, again, guys, more questions. I want to make this whatever you want to talk about, but let's dive into what I want to cover. So Cal Haffa sent some updates out last week, and I am going to pull them up. I meant to before I got into this meeting, and I did not, but let's go to Cal Haffa's website. While I am doing that, there are 3 more comments. So let's see. Alexis is saying it's very exciting. Let's see here. Zhang says, currently at 182 in the Bay Area. Do you think I have a chance? Also, can you explain more about how the additional 5% down payment works? You're in luck. I actually have a spreadsheet that I'm going to show you that explains exactly how the additional 5% down works. And I'll cover that in just a couple minutes. So I'm going to table that part of it. I think in the Bay Area, being at 182 is pretty good. Again, I think that you're going to know more at the end of September when you see the number of vouchers, you see how far you drop. But I'm seeing more people dropping now than I expected. And so I think we're going to end up with a lot more drops. I don't think significantly more, but I think that there's a lot more reasons that people are falling out than what I was thinking there was going to be. So just kind of stick in there. I mean, you're definitely at a good spot in below 200 in the Bay Area. All right, and then Alexis said, thanks, Clarissa. I hope you get yours soon. Capital Sprinter, number 56 in Capital Region. What are the chances I'll get it at the end of September? Let me pull up my handy dandy chart. Remember, my chart is my own. I was guessing based upon the Cal Haffa gave us their regions and the percent of the region that that it represented the state's population last year. Now, I'm sure the numbers changed this year, and so the challenge is I don't know if the percentages are exactly the same. But based on my calculation, as I am opening this up, and we're asking in the capital region, so 102 vouchers were provided. I think that because you're less than, and I'm not sure where you started. So you're 56 now. I'm guessing you started probably around 70, 65. So I think you have a very good chance. I think that up to the wait list number of the number of total vouchers given, I think you have a decent shot. I think once you start getting above the total number of vouchers given, even CalHFA didn't expect to get past they didn't expect to have the number of vouchers equal the number of people that couldn't make it work. Okay. So if you're above the number of vouchers that were provided in the first place, you've got to count on an equal number of people failing as had been given the voucher in the first place. And I don't think statistically that's likely to happen. I'm not sure if I'm saying that math very well, but hopefully the concept makes sense. Hopefully you've watched some of my other videos where I've talked about that a little bit more in depth. All right, really quickly here. It was an email and I didn't pull it up. I'll tell you very quickly a couple of things that CalHFA brought up. E-news, here we go. Come on, e-news. Anyway, I am not seeing this. All right, I'll just tell you. CalHFA clarified a couple of things last week. They said, first and foremost, you can add or subtract people from the Dream for All loan. You just can't delete the person who was designated as the first generation homebuyer. Now, that's critical to understand. Let me go back to the banners here. So that's critical to understand because let's pretend that you have yourself and your spouse. You're both first generation homebuyers, but when you entered yourselves into the portal, you had to pick which one of you was designated the first generation homebuyer. That's the person they did the background check on. That's the person they validated to make sure, hey, we need to double check and make sure that person's parents are truly not homeowners now and weren't homeowners when they passed away. Now, you might both be first generation homebuyers, but if you decide later, hey, one of us, our credit isn't as good and it fell, or we lost the job and so we want to kick that person off the loan. If that person was the person designated as a first generation homebuyer in CalHFA's system when you registered, you can't kick that person off the loan. You must keep the one person who is designated as first generation. If you only applied as one person, you're the one, you can add somebody else, that's okay. I have a client right now that we were talking about how to stretch their income a little bit. And I said, well, you can add a cosigner, but that cosigner doesn't have to be first generation. Only one person does. But they have to have not lived in a home they owned any time in the last 3 years. They have to occupy the new house with you, and their income plus yours cannot exceed the county limit. And they said, well, grandma lives with me. My grandma lives with me right now. She hasn't owned a home, and she only makes $1,000 a month in Social Security. And I said, okay, but that $1,000 a month in grandma's Social Security, because this person has good credit, means we can spend half of that towards the house payment. That gave this person a $500 bump in how much they could spend on a home, on a house payment. So that $500 a month bump in house payment was equal to about $60,000 to $70,000 of a bump in purchase price. So it pushed them to a significantly higher level than where they were at previously. And so CalHFA says, you can add people, that's okay. You can delete people, that's okay. But you just have to meet all the rules when you do it. The other thing CalHFA confirmed that a lot of people have not been clear about is they confirmed that every voucher can be redeemed for up to $150,000. In other words, if your initial pre-approval was for $500,000 and your initial pre-approval said you have $100,000 of Dream for All funds to go with that, and you now make more money, or you're willing to spend more, or you added grandma to your loan, and now you're willing to buy and qualify for $600,000, you're like, well, God, I'm in trouble. Because when I submitted my request, I only requested $100,000 from CalHFA. And so if I buy a $600,000 home, I can't get the 20% or 120 grand. The answer is yes, you can, which we've talked about before. I'm positive before that this was the case, but now I have it in writing from CalHFA. So those are some major things that CalHFA clarified. Some other things that really don't matter, minor stuff, but those are the big things that CalHFA clarified. All right, I do want to bring up one more thing, which is my first buyer who has made it through the escrow process. So we're right now a little over 3 weeks through. This buyer got into escrow 2 weeks ago. We got their loan approval on Monday. We submitted it to CalHFA yesterday, and at 2 o'clock today, I got my final approval from CalHFA. So my biggest worry was how long is it going to take CalHFA to process these loans through their system. And I was most worried about the end of July. We're going to have a big rush of people. They're going to be coming in as they got their vouchers. And how prepared was CalHFA going to be? Major kudos to CalHFA. They've come through. They've stayed on top of it. They're getting stuff done within a day. I'm super happy. This client had a 30-day escrow. They were supposed to close on the 12th of August, and we're likely to get them their keys next Tuesday, literally 13 days earlier than expected. So we're moving very quickly through these. We're not hitting hiccups. I'm super, super happy to report that CalHFA is staying on top of stuff. Your lender is going to make a difference on how quickly your lender can work through it. Clarissa, that's meant for you. Okay. So your lender matters on how quickly they can process things through their system. All right. So hold on here. Let's go with more questions. Alexis says, my wife's expecting at September and her income change from employee to disability will affect us. If so, how bad? And that Alexis is the designated first generation person, and that their original pre-approval was $550,000 and her and your wife's income was 30 grand. Okay. This is an easy answer, which is lenders are not allowed to discriminate against somebody who is on temporary disability. It's that simple. We can't. So if you're out on temporary disability because you're having a baby, we cannot discriminate. But we have to make sure you can afford the monthly payment while your wife is out on disability. So when you go to get qualified with your lender, this is where having a great lender matters, because they have to understand the rules. They have to package it properly to underwriting so that underwriting doesn't misunderstand and deny your loan. So what happens is we say, okay, she makes $30,000 a year or $2,500 a month, and her disability income is going to be $1,500 a month. I'm just using fake numbers for a second. So you're $1,000 short in income. We're going to qualify you based on the $2,500 a month because we know that's your permanent income, and we're not going to discriminate against you because you're out on disability. But we're going to get a confirmation of what the expected return to work date is. We're going to run a calculation that says, well, if you buy a house and go into contract today and you close escrow on August 15th, then your first payment is October the 1st. If your wife is expected to come back on December 30th, then you have to make the October, November, and December payments, and your income is $1,000 less between when you're making those three payments. All right, I continue. You know, I have a great new camera. Like literally, this is a brand new camera, Sony DLSR, and the heat is not friendly with this camera. So I'm switching to my other camera, the one that's built into my laptop. It only made me 23 minutes today. Usually it makes me about 45 minutes, but it's darn hot. Anyway, so your first payment is due October 1st. Your wife is back to work on December 31st. So you have three payments that you have to make with less income coming in. You're $1,000 less in income. So we have to make sure you have at least $3,000 of extra money sitting in the bank to make up for the $1,000 you're short times the three payments you have to make until your wife is back to work. If your lender doesn't understand that, call me. I'll help coach them. Look, I am not a nonprofit organization, but if your lender needs a lesson in how that works, I'm happy to explain it to them. If they still can't figure it out, maybe you need a new lender. But the fact is, it is not a problem that she's going to be out on disability as long as we can confirm her intention to return to work, that we confirm the employer has a job waiting for her when she returns to work, and get an approximate date that she's going to be returning to work. And then we just run that calculation. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. Clarissa says, repayment process is not in the handbook. When repayment is triggered by the 6 circumstances listed, is it like one big bill or made into monthly payments, rolled into a refinance loan? How is it paid? It is one payment, like it's due. When you have to repay, you're repaying the whole thing. Now, if you hit the end of 30 years, you're not going to have that kind of money sitting there. So how do you pay for it? You go get a new loan. Like you take out, you own the house and you only have one debt on there, which is the Dream for All loan. And so you'd call me up. I'm not sure if I'd be here working in 30 years, but let's assume I am, or when my kids took over. You'd call us up and say, hey, I've got this house. In this house, you owe, $250,000 because your Dream for All loan has grown to that amount. I need to take out a mortgage. My house is worth like $1.5 million now. Will you loan me 250 grand? Sure, I will. And over a 5-year time frame, you pay the same as what you're paying right now, and you pay it back off in 5 years. So they're not going to give you installments to pay it back. Like when it is due, you pay it in full. If you do your second refinance or your first one is cash out, it's due right then. It is payable in full at the moment that you have the trigger. So there's no timeline that you have to stretch it out. You would get a new loan and use that new loan to stretch it out. All right. Jesse Gonzalez says, currently number 11 at LA. I don't just think you have a chance. I think you are moving up, and I think you're going to move up way faster than you think. I bet by this time next month, you're going to have a voucher in hand and you're going to be calling me saying, John, I need my loan approval. Let's go. All right. And Alexis said, makes total sense. Good. I'm glad that made sense. All right. Now let's go back to what I wanted to talk about. And let's go here. Remember, guys, you got questions, feel free to ask. If you're just joining now, post questions in the chat. I'll get to them as we go. If you missed the first 20 minutes, go back because there's a lot of good information that I covered already. All right. I'm getting a lot of questions about how is earnest money used. John, you talked about there being 3 ways to use the money. What if I want to have all my closing costs wrapped into the loan, but I need to have earnest money here? So what happens to that? It gets refunded back to you. Okay. Your earnest money is an advance that you are paying towards what you owe at the end. And so you're paying that to tell the seller you're serious. And if you change your mind for no good reason, the seller can keep your earnest money. But you have contingencies to cover you. I'll talk about contingencies in a couple of minutes as well. But your earnest money is just a deposit. It's an advance paid towards the rest of the money you owe. And if you owe less money than what you paid in earnest money, then you can have it refunded back to you. You can't get more money out of the transaction. And so that's a big thing that people are talking a lot about, which is seller credits. And I've got a lot of people saying, hey, John, should I go get a seller credit? You can, but you don't really need to with the Dream for All. You can build the closing costs into your loan amount. Now, the benefit is if you got a seller credit that would pay a majority of the closing costs. Remember, closing costs are on average 4% of the purchase price. That's the simplest way to look at it. If you want to build those closing costs in, then you're going to have mortgage insurance. And most of my clients pay that as a one-time fee built into the loan amount. So that puts you closer to 4.5% to 5% of the purchase price and closing costs. But you say, no, John, I want to not have to pay that mortgage insurance. Well, getting a seller credit covers most of the closing costs, but you still have to cover some out of your pocket. Otherwise, you're still paying the same amount in mortgage insurance. So seller credits, especially if you've already negotiated the deal and you've said, hey, I've got my structure built, we've locked it in, I'm not coming up with any money out of pocket. And then you say, oh, my realtor found there was a problem on an inspection, and we want to ask the seller to, instead of fixing it, just give us a credit so we can have the money to fix it later. You won't have the money to fix it later. The credit makes your loan amount smaller because I don't need to loan you as much money to pay your closing costs, but it doesn't put cash back in your pocket. So with this program, unless you were already paying your own closing costs, in which case the seller credit means you don't have to pay as much of those closing costs. But if you are building your closing costs into the loan amount, getting a seller credit, you can't get extra money back out of it. You need to have the seller do the repairs. So you have to have a great realtor and a great partnership between your lender and your realtor to explain that and to say, hey, how about we have the seller set aside that money, and once we have final loan approval, then the seller can have the contractor go out and do those repairs and fix those things on the house and then pay that contractor out of closing. That way the work is done, but the seller's not doing it in advance because they're afraid that you might not close escrow. So they can wait until we have docs at title and then do the work, and then they pay the contractor when we close escrow. So that's a good way to look at it, and that's a great way that I can help you to figure out ways to make it work. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got here. Clarissa says, we love the idea of paying a 30 and 15 to 18 years. Is there any fine print that penalizes us with the Dream for All? The Dream for All is the subordinate or the primary. Like, can we pay the Dream for All one first? Don't ever pay the Dream for All first, because you don't stop sharing equity with the Dream for All program until you pay them in full. So paying the Dream for All program early, giving them small bits, is literally like taking that money and burying it in a hole in your backyard, because it doesn't save you any money anywhere. You're just sticking it there and saying, well, at least I'm not going to spend it on something else. That's really, really poor financial planning. Okay, so don't pay the Dream for All loan. The Dream for All loan is the second mortgage. The primary mortgage is the one that you're making payments on that has interest due. You can absolutely pay that one faster. Again, Clarissa, the more I listen to what you're saying about, hey, I want to pay off my house first fast. I love the idea of paying in 15 to 18 years. I do question how much the Dream for All program makes sense for you. You have the ability to pay more on your mortgage than what you're required to pay. So when you asked earlier, should I do the Dream for All or the 5% down? And now you're telling me I like the idea of paying faster and owning my home sooner. I love that idea. It tells me that this is even more so probably not the best program for you. Now, I would rather sit down with you and have a one-on-one conversation to confirm that fact. But the way you're talking right now, the way you're describing what your goals are, all the Dream for All program does is stretch out your debt. Sure, you pay off the first mortgage fast, but your second has continued to grow. So you're taking the big loan and paying it down faster than expected, but you got this other one behind here that keeps on going up. And so they may not go, you may in the end win a little bit because you might pay down the first one faster than the second one goes up. But it seems very counterintuitive. If you have the ability to pay down extra, you're better off taking just the 5% down conventional loan. So Clarissa says, just comparing old plans we had with this one. Yeah, I mean, it definitely is worthy of running numbers. And again, I'm a spreadsheet person, but it's hard to justify doing the Dream for All and postponing a bunch of money down the road that is not a free postponement. So something to think about. All right, let's go back over here. What inspections? A lot of people are asking me, John, what inspections do I need? Somebody said to me yesterday, John, I should probably ask my realtor, but do you recommend I get a radon inspection? And I said, look, here's the deal. You should ask your realtor, but I'll guarantee you what their answer is going to be if they have any quality real estate understanding. Their answer is, if you want the test, you should get it. Because if anyone in a real estate transaction talks you out of a test, they're liable later if there ends up being a problem. If you said to me, John, should I do a radon test on my house? And I'm your realtor. And I said, no, I mean, there's no radon here. Of course you shouldn't do a radon test. Well, first of all, as your realtor, I didn't save any money. I didn't make any money. I saved you, I don't know, a couple $100 on what the radon test would cost. But then 5 years later, and you find out your house has radon and you've lost $100,000 in value because there was radon in the soil. I think radon is in soil. I don't really know. Anyway, and you find out that it's an issue and now your value dropped by $100,000. You're going to sue me, your realtor, because it was my fault. You didn't know there was radon because you wanted to test for it and I talked you out of it. So if you think you should get an inspection, get it. If you are going to ask your realtor's opinion or my opinion, should you get an inspection? The answer is always going to be yes. Now, we might say, as I said to this person, look, I am not going to tell you no. I'm going to tell you that I've been doing business in this community for the last 24 years. You happen to be buying in Northern California, Central Valley, where I've been doing business for the last 24 years. And I said, best of my knowledge, I have never had a client order a radon test. And to the best of my knowledge, I have never had a client come back to me later and say, oh my gosh, my house has a radon problem. So you can use that any way you want. You can use that to say, hey, maybe I should go ahead and do the radon test. Maybe I should say, okay, then maybe I'm overthinking this. But don't ever expect somebody to talk you out of doing an inspection, because in general, that makes us liable if there's a problem with that. So I hope that makes sense. All right, got another question or comment. Somali Pirate asks if I am Arab. I am not. I am Irish with some German in me and a little bit of Norwegian. All right, so let's keep going here. How to find your forever home in 3 months. I get that question a lot. John, I'm super stressed out. I just got my voucher and I have 3 months to find my forever home. Guess what? You can't. In most cases, you can't. And the reality is, you're not going to be in that home forever. You're not. A home for most people is 5 to 7 years. It's a starter home. It's a first home. Every single one of you are first-time, first-generation home buyers. And you're looking at this understandably saying, if I'm going to buy a house, this is a big commitment. I better make sure it's the perfect house. There is no such thing. You know what? There is a bigger commitment than buying a house, and it's called marrying somebody, picking your spouse, picking your partner for life. Now, could you separate from that person? Sure, just like you can sell the house. But you're making a pretty darn big commitment to find your life partner in love, in marriage, and in life. And so the question is, do you keep questioning over and over again, saying, oh my God, is this the right partner? Like, did I pick the right person? Like, once you decide you're going to marry somebody, you stop looking, right? Like, you just stop looking. You got to think the same way about buying a home. Once you decide this house checks enough of the boxes, I'm moving forward. You are in contract. You are moving forward. You're headed to the altar. Stop dating. Turn off Tinder. Don't keep looking. Shut off your feed of looking at homes that are coming in. Stop looking at interest rates once you lock your rates. You're not going to find the perfect situation if you continue to say, oh my gosh, I think that one's better. You're going to lose this one. And then you may or may not get that one, and then you're going to end up with nothing. And so just be cautious about trying to find your forever home. It just isn't likely to happen. So figure out what are the must-haves and what are the should-haves. All right. Let's see here. Clarissa, one last, you promised, no, don't make promises you can't keep. Refinancing once, limited cash out allowed. Is this going to start the repayment process? No. So a limited cash out means the only money you're adding to the balance of your loan is the fees for doing the loan. You're not putting cash in your pocket. You're just increasing the balance by the amount of the fees that it costs you to do the refinance. So you are allowed to refinance a home once, lowering your interest rate, lowering your monthly payment, not paying back the state, and you're not pulling any cash out. But the second time that you refinance, you can, whether you pull cash out or not, you must pay back the state, which means you must pull cash out to pay back the state. So you're not writing a check to pay back the state that second time. You're just including it in your loan amount. So there's math behind it, and I can talk to you about that. I'll talk more about that in the future, especially after more of you are in your home, and I'll continue to educate you over the years through this channel and continue to be your resource. Even if you don't use me today, you will someday, I promise. All right, Alexis says, where are you located? I'd like to meet in person and talk about all our options. I have two offices. So I have an office in Roseville, California, which is just northeast of Sacramento. And then I have an office in Lodi, which is due south, about an hour south, 45 minutes south of Sacramento. So Alexis, I think you said, I don't know, maybe you didn't. Somebody told me they were in Sacramento. Oh, you are. Yeah, Alexis, you said you're in Capital Region. Okay. So yeah, I've got a Roseville office and a Lodi office, and I would love to sit down with you. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Scan this QR code or go to my website above, and you can schedule an appointment. I would love to do that. Thank you. All right. Let's keep going. How to find your forever home. All right. So what's my point? Once you're in contract, stop looking at houses. Like, just stop. Like, you are on the way to the altar. You have picked out the venue. You have picked out the music. You've picked out the dresses. Stop looking around. Okay. All right. Now let's dive in a little bit deeper. Let's talk about whether you should buy down your interest rate. Yeah. So Alexis is in Sacramento. Beautiful. Yeah. I'd love to meet with you, Alexis. All right. So should you buy down your interest rate? I'm going to put some math behind this. So here I am with one of my wonderful spreadsheets. You're going to get not one, but two amazing spreadsheets for the price of nothing that you'll be able to see tonight. So let me show you my first spreadsheet, which is, let's go present and share screen. And let's share that entire screen right there. And now I am sharing. All right, beautiful. And perfect. It fits in like perfectly. I should get rid of this little banner. Bye-bye, banner. Let's go find the way to make you banner go bye-bye. All right. Bye-bye, banner. All right. Oh, I can put the small one in there. Getting started small. Yeah, kind of. Okay. So what you are looking at here is you're looking at a $700,000 purchase price. My banner covers the property taxes. I'll fix that. Let's just take this right here and use the little handy dandy tool and move it right over there. All right. So property taxes, I'm estimating at, for a $700,000 home, putting 20% down, $140,000 down, your loan amount is $560. At today's interest rate of 6.875, your taxes are $730. I'm ballparking insurance, and I try and guess high on insurance at $204 a month. So just to give you a rough idea, your principal and interest payments, this is not your total payment. This is just your principal and interest at 6.875 is $36.78. I forgot to put the total payment. So the total payment is going to equal that plus J1 plus J2. Perfect. All right. So you're at $46.12 a month for a $700,000 home. Okay. Now, if you say, John, I want to buy down my interest rate, I want to get a lower interest rate, you can, but it's going to cost you money. So your choice is, and this is the example I got from a couple weeks ago from Cal Haffa. This chart changes every single day. How much you pay in fee to get a lower interest rate changes every single day. And they said there's no guarantee any particular day that you actually can get a lower interest rate. So this is assuming the chart that I was shown previously. And this is years. Okay. Years is plural, just so we all know, children. All right. So continue asking, putting your questions in here. I'll finish this and then I will happily jump in and answer your questions. So if you're paying the extra fee in cash, if you wanted to go from 6.875 to 5.875, it's going to cost you $18,000. $18,000 in extra fee to save you $366 a month. So that means that it's going to take 49 months or about 4.14 years before you've broken even. Now, a break even in this situation says, let's pretend that instead of writing a check for $18,200 right now, I just set it in that little dirt hole in the backyard that we talked about Clarissa putting her money into. And every single month you walked out and you pulled out $366 to help make your mortgage payment, that money would run dry in 4.14 years. And so you'd say, well, gosh, John, I plan on keeping this house for 30 years. And so it's a really good deal because I could save $366 times 30 years. So 30-year savings, you're going to save a lot of money. You're going to save, let's just take, hold on, equals your savings times 360. So you're going to save $33,000 and you only spent $2,800. Okay. You're going to save a boat ton of money if you kept the loan for 30 years. You're not going to keep the loan for 30 years. You're not. Like you're literally not going to keep this mortgage for 30 years. With the way rates are going, you're likely to refinance this in the next 4 years or less. So when you look at this break-even point, sure, I can save $200,000 over the next 30 years by spending $35,000 right now. But it takes you 5 years before you actually are making money on the buy down. But guess what? It gets a whole lot worse if you build it into the loan amount. If you say, well, gosh, John, the whole point here is that I don't want to have to pay all this money out of pocket. So I want to use some of my Dream for All money to pay for my buy down because it says I can. You can. But the numbers get way worse because now your loan amount went up. You're borrowing more money. So instead of, in this case, let's just use the 6.625 example right here. Your payment would bump up to bump down, I should say, to $35.85, saving you $93 a month. But if you actually paid in the loan amount, if you added it to your loan because you didn't have the money to pay it out of pocket, then you're really only saving $75 a month. Which means in this case, instead of making back your money in 2.5 years, it takes you 3.25 years to make back your money. But it gets really worse when you're talking about the numbers down here, because what you notice is the more you buy it down, the longer it takes you to make back the money. It's called the law of diminishing returns. The further away you go from the norm, the less benefit you get for every dollar that you spent. The law of diminishing returns. It's just like law of diminishing returns says, hey, if I am picking weeds in my backyard and I'm one person and I add one more person, I double the labor and therefore I'm going to get it done in half the amount of time. But if I put 500 people in my backyard, am I going to get it done faster than if I had 200 people? No, because no matter what, that's too many people. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. That's diminishing returns. You start spending too much money buying down the rate, and now it's going to take you 7.5 years to make back your money. So be careful when somebody says, oh, you can buy down the rate. I am not a fan of buying down your interest rate using Dream for All money unless it's the only way to qualify you. I had a client I talked to today who the property tax, he got in contract yesterday. We're running the numbers. The property taxes were higher than we expected. So now he's in trouble because he's paying more in property taxes and our debt to income ratio is really, really, really tight. And then he said, my insurance guy says I'm in a high fire zone. Bam! His fire insurance is going to go up and it's going to put us over the debt to income ratio, but he loves his house. So we either need to pay off some other debt. We've already paid off a lot of debt, or he's got to buy down his interest rate because it's the only way to qualify. All right, let's go talk about some questions people have. All right, so Clarissa, you said one last and now you had more. Are seller concessions and credits the same thing? Yes. A seller credit is a seller concession. It's called an interested party contribution. There's a cap to how much you can have in interested party contributions. It's 3% of the purchase price. So whether it be money as a seller credit, money that your realtor credits you from their commission, all of it added together cannot exceed 3% of the purchase price. Okay. Now, if the seller is paying for your realtor's commission after August 17th, that's a whole nother thing. Then depending upon how it was written into the contract, it's likely not counted towards that 3% cap, as long as it says specifically they're paying your realtor's commission. But if you're paying your realtor's commission and your seller's paying you to offset what you're paying your realtor, then it does count as a seller concession. Again, very confusing, but I'm here to guide you. All right, Clarissa, you're now -2 in the number of questions that you can ask. Is AMI for low income rules based on AGI? No. I watched your video and I think I understand gross qualifying income is not household income. Sacramento is 90, 960, and 113 is 100%. Yeah, so we care about the qualifying income. Qualifying income is not the same as AGI. And we're going to look at way more than what I can explain in this video, but we're going to look specifically at what we would use for you to qualify, which for income that's stable, we look at what you're making today and predict it going forward. For income that's variable, we look at what you've made over the last 2.5 years and we average it. That's the simplest way to say it. Beauty. Hi, Beauty. Is it possible to still use the voucher if you make an offer in September? Yes. So you must be in contract with your interest rate, not interest rate lock, but with your loan registered by your lender at CalHFA before the deadline. Okay, so you cannot go past that deadline. And we have until 2 o'clock in the afternoon to register your loan. So CalHFA says that you can lock an interest rate. I'm sorry, that you have to reserve it by 11:59 p.m. on whatever your deadline is. It's not 11:59, it's 2 p.m. because that's when their computers shut off. There's a little bit of wiggle room after that. Actually, their computer shut off at 3 p.m. I've got to enter it by 2 p.m. So you can absolutely write an offer in September as long as you are in contract and I reserve your loan with CalHFA before 2 p.m. on the date of printed on your deadline. All right, let's go back over here. We got about 15 minutes left. All right, so I want to show you guys my other spreadsheet. I promised you 2 spreadsheets tonight. I am super proud of this spreadsheet. And this one is what I call my can I offer spreadsheet. Hold on, we got another comment here. Let's see, 3, Beauty says hi, and then thank you. Alexa says, I just submitted my info through your website. Hope we can chat tomorrow. I am awesome and the most knowledgeable lender I know. Well, clearly you know at least 2. So I feel really, really proud of the fact that I am the most knowledgeable. Alexis, I appreciate that. I am just joking. I am truly honored. And I appreciate you reaching out and trusting me to take care of you. Okay, I do like to joke. So hopefully you're okay with me joking a little bit. All right, let's go back over here. And let's talk about, should I waive? Nope, not that one. Can I offer at this price my spreadsheet? So let's show my handy dandy spreadsheet. That one's going to be too small. Let's go this one. Nope, because that gets rid of me. You don't want to get rid of me. Let's do this one. There we go. Now I'm still here. All right, so I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of, actually the chart at the top isn't that big of a deal, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So this spreadsheet is my own spreadsheet. I give this to all of my buyers that are approved through me, okay? This is a hint that follow Alexis's lead if you'd like to get this. This spreadsheet allows you from home to kind of run your own numbers. If you're trying to figure out, hey, I just saw this house on Zillow, or my realtor just emailed me this house, I don't know if I can make it work. So first of all, my disclaimer, this tool is just a worksheet. It does not guarantee loan approval. If you goof something up on there, it's a spreadsheet. If you goof up the numbers are goofed up. But I want to show you kind of how the numbers all work together. So let's pretend that you make $150,000 a year and your credit score is 720. Well, that means that you can spend 40 or 50% of your income towards your bills. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more here for you and make it easier to see. All right, so it says you can spend 50% of your income. There we go. Maybe that's better. All right, you can spend 50% of your income towards your bills. Now you got to look at what are my bills. So this one, I got to zoom into this one. This is where I'm going to put all of your debts. So I'm going to show, hey, how much is your car payment? How much are your credit cards? How much are your monthly payments? Well, that adds up to $2,055 a month. And so if you make $150,000 a year and you have a credit score of over 720, then that means the highest mortgage payment you're allowed is $4,195. Now, how did I figure that out? Because the math is actually very, very simple. What you do is you take your total income, so $150,000, divided by 12. So monthly, that's $12,500. Because your credit score is over 700, you can spend half of that. So I'm going to multiply that times 0.5. And that means that I can spend $6,250, but I have $2,055 in other debts. Okay, so I subtract the $2,055 and that leaves me $4,195 I can spend per month on a house payment. Guess what? That is exactly what this number came out to. Why? Because I programmed the spreadsheet. But now you can say, hey, I just got a pay raise. And instead of making $150,000, I'm getting a pay raise to make $160,000. Great. Then plug that in and it says, oh, you can spend $4,600 a month. And so now you say, okay, well, what county am I in? I am in Los Angeles County. And so when you say I'm in Los Angeles County, it's going to say, hey, you got a problem. You make too much money to buy in this county because the income limit in this county is $155,000. Pretty nifty. Like I built everything into this. Kind of like I'm smart. All right. So the AMI limit, Clarissa, I think, was asking about the AMI. So the AMI limit in that county is built into my spreadsheet. And it says, okay, well, so fine, I'm still making $150,000. And so I can spend $4,195, but I really love this house that is $800,000. And so I want to know, can I offer on this house? Well, I'm going to get $150,000 in assistance because it caps at $150,000. And so I'm looking down here and, oh, nope, I can't. Like all of them are red. Now, why are they red? Because at $800,000, my loan amount is $690,000, which makes my payment $4,532. And then I have taxes and I have insurance. And oh, by the way, what if I wanted to buy a $650,000 home? Can I do that? Well, you can if you're bringing your money out of pocket. If you're paying the extra 5% out of pocket. This is where somebody asked earlier about how the extra 5% out of pocket works. And so you want to buy a $650,000 home. Your maximum payment is $4,195, and this has $4,069. So that means you've got to come up with about $59,000 between down payment and closing costs for this $650,000 home. But let me let you in on a little secret. I would want you to pay off your credit cards instead. So remember this $59,000 and you have a payment of $4,069. But I can go right over here into the debt category and I can say, hey, what if I start paying off debts? And so you notice over here, I've got the chart telling me, hey, yes, I can do the max out of pocket, but I can't do the pay your own closing costs and I can't do the zero cash needed option. So let's start paying off some of these credit cards. And so I'm gonna pay off the ones that have the biggest payment percentage of the total. So I'm gonna pay off this guy for sure, and that lowered my payment. I'm a lot closer there. I'm only off by $42. Well, this payment is $35. That's not going to get me there, but this one for $150 is. So if I pay that one off, boom, boom, I'm there. So now I can do, if I just paid off an extra $3,000, now instead of needing $58,000, I only need $29,000. How did I do that? Because I'm no longer spending the $58,000 here in this scenario of the max out of pocket. Instead, I've gone to this scenario paying my own closing costs, which is about $26,000, plus the $3,000 in debt payoff. I only need $29,000. But wait, Bob, there's more. What if we paid off this one? Now I can qualify for this scenario. For $6,000 in credit card payoffs, I can buy a home with zero money out of pocket. So that's how the three scenarios play against each other, that you can say, hey, instead of putting my money towards down payment, maybe I put my money towards paying off some of my debt. My overall payments go down significantly, And my chart, if you're working with me, I'm going to get you a copy of this chart customized for you that allows you to play with this stuff and say, okay, fine. So I'm looking at a $650,000 home, but I want to buy a $600,000 condo that has a $495 HOA. I can do that, I'm sure. Yeah, but it's really, really tight. And if you said, well, yeah, but what about a $625,000 condo with that $495? Nope, not with the zero cash needed option. So this helps you to kind of look at these three different scenarios and say, hey, how much money do I really need? And should I spend it towards the down payment on the home and the closing costs on the home, or should I use it to pay off my debts? Because the debts are significantly higher interest rates. And yes, you're adding this money over a 30-year term, but the interest rate is significantly lower. You get a tax write-off against it, and it saves you a significant amount of money over time. So I know I've covered a lot. Let's go back to Q&A. Let's kind of finish out here. Let me go back here, and we will wrap up with general questions. If I don't have enough questions, I'll talk about appraisal contingencies a little bit. All right. Let's see here. Beauty asks, how long does it take to get into contract? That is entirely up to you. So I will give you a fun story about a client who got their voucher last week on Thursday. They got their, they went shopping on Friday. They found a home that they loved. They wrote an offer on Sunday. They got into contract on Monday. They're actually out of the country traveling now. They left this weekend and they're taking a long vacation, which means they're going to buy a house remotely. That's going to be a lot of fun for all of us, but we're going to get it done. We have 30 days to get this finished, probably actually 25 on this one. And they got into contract literally Monday after they got their voucher on Thursday. I have other clients who have been shopping for the last 3 weeks and can't decide on a home. There's too many homes. There's too few homes. There's not enough choices in this neighborhood, and there's too many choices in that neighborhood. I don't know if I want to live on this side of town or that side of town. It's the thing I've been preaching for the last few months. You need to start doing your homework now. If you were on the wait list, start doing your homework now to try and figure out, hey, is this something in a neighborhood that I want to live in? What areas am I willing to commute to? Because that will make a very, very, very big difference when it comes to your ability to get in contract quickly. I had somebody else ask me, John, should I wait until the 90 days before I start writing offers? Because there might be another house that comes up that's better than if I write an offer on it now. But there might be nothing available at that point in time. So take the bird in the hand. Take the house that's available now if it checks enough of your boxes, and don't look back. Like, that's the challenge of marriage. That's the challenge of home ownership. That's the challenge of anything in life. Take what you have and be happy and proud of what you have, and stop looking over your shoulder to wonder if you could have something else. Alexis, would you be able to share that spreadsheet with me? I want to be 100% ready if I get the voucher. Absolutely, Alexis. I will happily do that. You and I had talked about us getting together anyway, and so we will do that during our meeting, and I'll happily share that with you. Clarissa, I downloaded your app and submitted my info. Thank you. You'll be comparing lenders and agents this week to commit to someone. How do we schedule time to meet with you? Oh, that's amazing. Let me make this really, really simple. I'll give you guys a demo. You right now, so let's go here. And let's go here, and let's go here. So you would go to, and I'm sorry that I don't have this. It's actually on my mobile app. When you've downloaded the app, it's one of the links on the app, but it's calendly.com/John Lone King. So go to calendly.com/John Lone King. Okay, let's see if I can't make that any bigger. All right, so when you go there, calendly.com/John Lone King, and you, actually, I think I can post this right here. Let's see, www.calendly.com/John Lone King. That should be able to actually post back into each of your chat. Yep, it's going back. Okay, cool. So you guys should be getting that pushed back into the platform that you're watching from. So you go to calendly.com/John Lone King, and you click on initial consultation, and it gives you my entire calendar. So you'll be able to pick from, hey, I want to do a consultation with John, and I want to do it tomorrow, the 25th. I've got spots at 2:30 or 3. You want to do it on Friday? I've got 2:34 or 4:30. Next Monday, I've got 8:39, 2:30, 3, and 5. You pick the time that you want, and you fill in your information. Zoom, I like doing face-to-face meetings via Zoom. So you can go on here, and you can get the appointment right here. So calendly.com/John Lone King. I see that came through on my Facebook and on my John Lone King YouTube. I hope it went through on the YouTube that you were on, Clarissa. But anyway, that is how you would schedule time. Also, just text me. You've got our phone numbers. It's on the app. You can chat through the app. That works as well. And Clarissa said, we're scheduled to see houses on our list this week also. Love it. I look forward to connecting with you, Clarissa. We are up against the clock. It is 8 o'clock, and I promised my lovely wife that I would be done in an hour. So hopefully this helps. I like to do these regularly. I'm going to try and do them about once a week because there's lots of questions people have as we go through this, and I want to continue to be a resource and hopefully earn the opportunity to take care of each and every one of you. And maybe one day I'll figure out why my camera, that's only like 6 months old and it wasn't cheap, keeps shutting off on me. But it's okay. You get this version even though it looks really bad up there. Guys, I really appreciate your listening. I appreciate everybody who joined me live. If you're watching recorded, you missed out on the opportunity to ask questions live. Join me next time live. But if there's anything I can do to help you out, please feel free to reach out. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Hope you have a wonderful Wednesday evening. Try and stay cool. This heat is killing us. All right. We'll talk to y'all soon. Good night.